Now it's in the 17th season, Family Guy has certainly gone through many ups and downs. Cancellations, time shifts, dead dogs, and then there's the leader of the pack, Peter Griffin. The Rhode Island resident may live in the smallest state, but he has some of the biggest adventures in all of animation. Journey with us through his bizarre evolution, from an unaired pilot all the way to some roles he's taken on, including Marvel's Deadpool.
The treatment didn't give me powers, but it did spread cancer to my anus.
This is the evolution of Peter Griffin on Family Guy. As Seth MacFarlane developed the animated series for Fox, he needed to present some type of pilot for the network. The unaired segment featured some key differences in the design of Peter. His sideburns were slightly longer, and the frame of his glasses was much thicker than they ended up being on the actual show. A lot of the episode content ended up getting used on the official first episode of the show, but Peter definitely cleaned up a lot for his debut appearance. For years, Family Guy, The Simpsons, and South Park have been throwing jabs at each other. While Family Guy and The Simpsons had official crossovers with each other, South Park took things into their own hands. In the episode Canada on Strike, a quick cutaway scene showcases Peter Griffin and the rest of his family drawn South Park style. The quick tease showcased how much fun a real crossover could be in the future.
A cartoon that's always pushing buttons with their careless toilet humor.
The uncut DVD of Family Guy Season 5 showcased Peter Griffin like we've never seen him before, with an uncensored full-frontal shot of this man's parts. The scene itself takes place in the episode Airport 07, and of course, it was blurred for TV. Those watching the DVD probably got a huge surprise when the scene aired.
What the hell?
Peter has had countless injuries, severed body parts, and trips to the hospital. But one of the most visual changes to Peter came in the Season 6 episode McStroke. At first we see Peter with a gnarly mustache, which leads to a career as a fireman, and then eventually a stroke which paralyzes the whole left side of his body. The condition lasts longer than just a quick gag, and we see Peter limp, struggle to drink, and attempt to drive with half of his body incapacitated. One of Family Guy's biggest ventures was when the show took on the original Star Wars trilogy in Seasons 6, 7, and 8. Back before Disney owned Lucasfilms, Seth MacFarlane was given a lot of leeway, and we got to see Peter Griffin play the role of Han Solo while Brian's Chewbacca stood by his side. The first episode, Blue Harvest, was an instant classic, with Peter setting up some of the best scenes in the original Star Wars movie.
Hey, it could be worse.
It's worse.
Everyone loves a good birth story, but we're talking about Family Guy here, so you know things will be pretty crazy.
Peter, sit down.
In the Season 6 episode Padre de Familia, Peter visits his mom and learns he was born in Mexico. It's through a flashback where we get our first glimpse of baby Peter. Plump and with a head full of hair, not much different than his adult counterpart. After years of love and dedication to his wife Lois, Peter decides to partake in a medical experiment where he's injected with the so-called gay gene. And in typical Family Guy fashion, it works. Peter's personality changes, he leaves Lois for a guy, and we see Peter explore his new attraction to males in all kinds of crazy scenes, including a huge group love scene where the medical experiment slowly starts to wear off.
These are mine!
You have to give it to Family Guy animators. They are constantly finding new ways to showcase gruesome injuries. One of Peter's worst may have been when him and his buddies tried to recreate a jackass shopping cart stunt. Peter's spine was literally pushed up his body, deforming him in a way that was brutal to watch, even if it was just a cartoon. Thanks to the spin-off series The Cleveland Show, Peter has an empty house across the street and decides to use it for going number 2. He enjoys the process so much we see a great transformation for the character. He actually loses 50 pounds. The physical transformation isn't as evident as much as we see the numbers on the scale, but progress is progress. The road to the multiverse showed the evolution of Peter at a rapid pace. Another stop for Brian and Stewie completely transformed Peter into a stop-motion character in a similar style to Seth Green's other animated show, Robot Chicken.
Optimus Prime.
Peter definitely looks a little more dimensional in the clay version, posing on the couch and watching TV with Chris. Ever wanted to know what Peter would look like as a dog?
God, I know that sound! That means there's a potential intruder at the front door!
Well, the Road to the Multiverse episode answers that question as well. We see Peter transformed into a dog, which wasn't a bad look for the guy. Despite having brown fur and a wagging tail, Peter wore his same signature outfit, proving that old habits truly do die hard.
Say hi to human Brian.
It didn't take Family Guy very long to fall into the trend of using cutaway gags and jokes. Just in the second episode alone, we got to enjoy several cutaways, including one where Peter Griffin imagines himself at Willy Wonka's factory. He takes on the same role as poor Violet Beauregard as he plumps up into the size of a giant berry, and the predicament forces him to use some pretty harsh words with the candy maker.
Hey, shut up, Wonka!
Even though Family Guy is traditionally animated, there are plenty of ways for the series to improve their quality. The season premiere for Season 9 presented Peter in full HD for the first time ever. Widescreen formats, rich color details, and more shadows made the show look better than ever, and especially Peter's animations. He kept his original design, but the added quality really makes him pop, and you can tell the difference between the newer seasons and everything before Season 9. Nothing like getting lost in the Canadian wilderness to completely transform a character. This is exactly what happened in Season 11 when Peter gets abandoned for months. He has a ton more hair, barely wears clothes, and is referred to as Big Fat rather than Big Foot. Like many of his transformations, they only last a single episode, but this is definitely one of the more memorable ones.
Come on, get out of the trash!
Just like his baby form and adult form, the preteen Peter looks pretty much the same, but has some youthful looks and much smaller frame. Unfortunately for this young version of Peter, he falls for the stranger danger trap and gets taken by a man in a van offering him some candy. The cutaway gag offered some big laughs and an age of Peters we've never seen before. When it comes to Family Guy and plots, the more absurd, the better. Case in point, the Season 13 episode where Peter becomes obsessed with Brian's rope toy and wants it for himself. Just how obsessed does he get? Enough to completely transform into an oversized golem, treating the toy like his precious. And as the later seasons went on, the more Peter seemed to dress up, especially for cutaway gags. In Season 15, one gag features Peter dressed up as the nurse Joker from The Dark Knight, completely reenacting the scene where he blows up the hospital. The Peter version of the Joker brought on some of the same creepiness as Heath Ledger, and wouldn't be the last time he dressed up as a creepy clown. This time around, Peter dressed as Ronald McDonald in a random send-up of Quentin Tarantino's film Kill Bill. Peter not only showed his clown style, but also a lot of violent samurai action against a group of villains. Somehow, wearing the Ronald McDonald suit instead of the Uma Thurman Kill Bill one made the scene even crazier.
Oh, well then maybe I won't be able to chop your head off.
Family Guy animators are not just creating new versions of Peter for the show, they've evolved him on social media as well. One of the best examples comes from a time when Rihanna wore a see-through dress for a fashion show. In a parody of the dress, Peter was drawn in the exact same design. Luckily, Rihanna saw the humor of Peter's outfit and even posted the picture on her own Twitter account. Could Peter Griffin pull off a role as a superhero? Probably not, but that doesn't mean we don't want to see him try. In the episode Dog Bites Bear, a quick cutaway gag showcased Peter as the infamous Deadpool. The costume was on point, and Peter definitely had some of the same quick wit as the Merc with a Mouth. We'd love to see him play some other heroes down the line. Interested in seeing a live-action version of Family Guy? Well, Season 2 gave us a fun sneak peek at the idea when Peter lectures Chris about drug use. A quick cutaway shows Peter in real life. Sure, it may seem super realistic, but it would definitely make a great cosplay at the next convention you attend. For many seasons, Peter has been overweight, but still puts others down for it as well.
You're not fat, Chris. You just come from a long line of husky Griffins.
When Chris refuses to get liposuction surgery, Peter opts in and returns a whole new man. In the best shape of his life, Peter acts completely different than his normal self.
Knock, knock.
He would have stayed this way too, if he didn't crash, land in a pit of lard, and have to eat his way out, instantly turning back to his normal self again. What is Peter Griffin without his prominent butt chin? Proudly on display each episode. Well, the iconic chin gets maximum coverage when Peter decides to grow a beard in a Season 3 episode. The beard is itchy and annoys Peter, but the infestation of a rare bird species forces him to keep the facial hair, and actually allows him to bond with the nest full of birds on the inside.
See, look, there's the cow.
We've seen Peter try out a lot of different careers over the years, but desperate times call for desperate measures, and in Season 3, he may have taken things a little too far. Taking on the role of a street corner call girl, Peter ditches his traditional white button-up for a feather boa, tube top, and some high heels. And despite the outfit choices, Peter acts like nothing is wrong when Lois comes to pick him up on the street.
It's eerie, isn't it? Like looking into the future.
And when job woes continue, Peter resorts to time on the couch, and a whole lot of it. He packs on the pounds as fat literally rolls out from his clothes underneath. He spends days snacking and watching TV. Not much different than usual, but the elimination of work hours causes him to quickly balloon up. Peter gets so big, Brian must carry him around on a forklift to get places. By Season 15, he seemed to have forgotten his lesson. In the episode Saturated Fat Guy, Peter opens an unhealthy food truck. While eating on the inside, Peter packs on the pounds and becomes too big to even exit the truck. Even though he's run into major problems with his weight, he's self-proclaimed to never learn his lesson, and the same problem will likely occur again.
Please welcome Peter Griffin.
In 2006, Peter Griffin continued his rise to national stardom by making an appearance on The Late Show with David Letterman. His special guest animated spot included the character doing a special top 10 entitled The Top 10 Things I, Peter Griffin, Would Like to Say to America. This wouldn't be the last of late-night appearances for Peter, as he also once appeared on Jimmy Kimmel Live. So what's next for Peter Griffin? Want to see him on the big screen? In CG? What is your favorite version of Peter? Anything we missed? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to ScreenRant for more great content.